You know that feeling, right? A song comes on and bam, goosebumps. Or maybe a certain melody just hits you and suddenly you're tearing up. It feels like total magic. But it's not. It's science. And today, we're going to peel back that curtain and look at the incredible, kind of wild relationship between music and your brain. We'll start with the most basic question of all. Yeah, this. How do simple vibrations in the air become, well, powerful emotions? I mean, think about that for a second. How does a purely physical thing, a literal wave moving through the air around you, turn into one of the most personal, emotional experiences we can have? It's a huge question. So let's take a journey together, starting from the outside world and going deep, deep inside the architecture of the brain. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the actual sound wave itself. Then we dive into the ear, this incredible piece of biological tech. From there, we'll follow the tiny electrical signal it creates. And finally, we land inside the brain, which is where all the real magic happens. You ready? Let's start at the very beginning. All right, first stop, we're starting at the source, the vibration itself. Before music is art, before it's emotion, it's just physics. A simple disturbance in the air around us. This is what makes it so real, you know? Sound is a physical thing. Get this, the highest note you can play on a piano, it creates a physical wave in the air that's just about 8 centimeters long. That's shorter than your hand. On the flip side, a really low note creates a wave that can be a whole meter long. So all these physical properties, frequency, wavelength, amplitude, that's the raw data. That's what our brain has to work with to create what we hear as music. So these physical waves are flying through the air, and then they hit you. What happens next? Well, they run smack into one of the most amazing bits of biological machinery you own, your ear. Let's take a look under the hood. And this is just mind-blowing. Your ear isn't just a machine. It's an ancient one. Those tiny, delicate bones inside your ear that let you hear, they actually evolved from the jawbones of ancient reptiles. No, seriously. It just goes to show you how deep our relationship with sound really is. This sense of ours was built piece by piece over millions of years. Okay, so here's the quick and dirty on how it all works. First, the sound wave hits your eardrum, and it starts to vibrate. Then, those little bones we just talked about, the hammer, anvil, and stirrup, they take that vibration and they crank it up. They amplify it. This bigger vibration then wiggles about 20,000 teeny tiny hair cells. And this is the most important part. Those hair cells turn that physical movement into an electrical signal. Because that's it. That's the only language your brain actually speaks. And now, we've arrived. The main event. That little electrical spark has reached the brain. But here's where it gets really interesting. Your brain isn't just sitting there, passively listening. Oh no. It actively changes based on the sounds it hears. And this is especially true when you practice and play music. I love this idea. Learning is physically sculpting the plastic brain. This is what scientists call neuroplasticity. And it means that every single time a musician practices an instrument, they are literally carving new pathways. They are physically changing the structure of their brain. It's not just a mental thing, it's like biological sculpture. And you can actually see these changes. We can measure them. Brain scans show that musicians literally have a thicker cortex, more brain matter, in the areas that process sound. They basically build a superhighway between what they hear and what their hands do, which is why they can translate notes into action almost instantly. And another cool thing, a lot of the creative, emotional part of music, like melody, that's handled mostly in the right side of the brain. This really shows how much our environment sculpts our brains. So look at this. It's about absolute pitch. That's the super rare ability to hear a note and just know what it is, no reference needed. The difference here is just staggering. 60% of Chinese music students have it, compared to under 10% of their American counterparts. So why? Well, the leading theory is that it has to do with language. If you grow up speaking a tonal language like Mandarin, where the pitch of your voice changes the meaning of a word, your brain is getting trained from birth to be hyper-aware of pitch. It's a huge head start. Okay, so we've talked about the how, right? The mechanics of the ear, what happens in the brain, but that doesn't answer the biggest question of all. Why? Why do we have such a deep emotional connection to organized sound? What's the evolutionary point? Well, here's one really famous and pretty provocative take on it. The linguist Steven Pinker once argued that, biologically speaking, music is useless. He called it auditory cheesecake. Something super enjoyable that's just a byproduct of other useful things we evolved, like language, but with no real survival purpose of its own. It's a fascinating idea, but is it true? Well, a whole field of scientists in biomusicology would strongly disagree. They argue that music isn't just some sweet dessert for the ears. No, it was a critical tool for survival, shaping the very social fabric of our earliest ancestors. And they've got some pretty compelling theories. For one, just like birds, maybe our ancestors used musical calls to attract partners or define their territory. But maybe the most important thing is group cohesion. Singing and dancing together creates a powerful social bond. Just think about it. A synchronized choir of voices tells a rival tribe, "We are here, we are unified, we are strong." It could have also served as a peaceful signal, allowing different groups to mix, which was essential for genetic diversity. When you get those chills down your spine from a powerful piece of music? The scientific term is frisson, and it's believed to be an evolutionary echo. It's a remnant of our ancient fight-or-flight response, when our ancestors' hair would stand on end to make them look bigger in the face of a threat, or a sudden, surprising event, like a powerful, unexpected chord change. But what happens when this system doesn't work as expected? That's a condition called amusia, or tone deafness, where the brain struggles to process melodies. And here's a fascinating link. Studies have found that people with amusia can also have trouble with spatial reasoning, suggesting our brains might use some of the same neural wiring for both music and for navigating the world around us. And that song you just can't get out of your head, the scientific name is involuntary musical imagery, but we all know it as an earworm. It's basically a common glitch where the brain's networks for perception, memory, and emotion spontaneously activate and get stuck in a loop, playing a piece of music without your conscious control. We've journeyed from a simple vibration all the way to the evolutionary roots of music. So now, let's look ahead. Our growing understanding of this connection is unlocking some absolutely incredible new possibilities. Look at how far we're pushing the boundaries. We're now using targeted music therapy to stimulate memory pathways and slow diseases like Alzheimer's. Scientists are even developing technology that can listen to your brainwaves and reconstruct the song you're imagining. And on the creative side, artificial intelligence is now so advanced that AI composers are being accepted into music rights societies right alongside human artists. This isn't science fiction. It's already happening. An AI was fed all of Beethoven's work and his sketches for the 10th Symphony. It then learned his style and composed a completion of the piece that was performed by a full orchestra. A machine finished the work of a human genius. Just let that sink in for a moment. And that brings us to our final thought. We've seen that our connection to music is so deeply biological, emotional, and evolutionary. It has physically sculpted our brains and our societies. But as technology begins to decode our brains and create its own art, what does that mean for us? Will it change the very nature of music, or simply give us powerful new tools to explore this fundamental part of being human? That's a question we're only just beginning to answer.